What's up YouTube, it's Ryan from AnnihilatorMTG here, and I'm back again with some more Modern. After the stellar release in the new Kamigawa set, I was perplexed on what deck to play this week. I can assure you that there are plenty of ideas still in the mix, but for now we're going to be playing Abzan Reanimator. This is a riff on the well-established Reanimator archetype that incorporates green for a few very specific reasons. Let's break it down. So to address the elephant in the room, an overwhelming majority of this deck isn't actually new. What is new, however, is the green inclusion, which allows us to play the ever-powerful Boseiju who endures. This card, especially in the current meta, is absolutely fantastic. By discarding it from your hand while also paying the mana cost, you're able to destroy any target artifact, enchantment, or land your opponent controls. The best part is, this is an ability, not a spell, making it significantly more difficult to interact with. We're talking main board artifact, enchantment, and land destruction. Outside of this card, we have some pretty interesting tools at our disposal. By including green into our mana base, we're able to play stellar enablers and threats alike. Take Grisly Salvage and Grist the Hunger Tide, for instance. The Salvage allows us to set up the graveyard at instant speed while also getting another card for our troubles, while Grist fuels the graveyard, populates the board, potentially answers your opponent's threats, and gets in for incidental damage or life loss to be specific. The additional color also has the added bonus of being very useful with Prismatic Ending. From there, the rest of the deck is a bog-standard Orzhov Reanimator package, leveraging the Unmarked Grave and Persist combo, often targeting Archon of Cruelty, but sometimes also Serra's Emissary. I almost included Bane of Progress in this deck, but that's a commander card, and I'm an idiot. I fully expect this deck to be both fun and ideally very competitive, so let's not waste any time here and head straight into the first match. Alrighty, looks like we found our opponent. Best of luck to you, my friend. And this hand isn't exactly exciting, but why not? They get things started with a Stomping Ground into a Suspended Footfalls. That's a little scary. We draw an Ephemerate. Let's play a Marsh Flats and send it back. Up next, they play a Fiery Islet. During their end step, we'll crack our fetch for a Triome. As expected, they cast Ice during our upkeep, attempting to slow us down. Ooh, but we draw Grief. Let's play a land, then evoke it. Seeing two Brazen Borrowers, two copies of Fire and Ice, and a Singleton Fury. This type of hand is incredible if you already have a card suspended. With that in mind, I think we'll just take the Borrower. Then we'll cast Ephemerate, discarding the second copy. To add insult to injury, they drew a Bonecrusher Giant, immediately stomping our dude. Although them missing a land is beyond huge. There's a Grisly Salvage, that's pretty good. In the meantime, we'll jam a fetch and send it back. They found their land, cracking it for a breeding pool. Then they cast the Giant, after which we'll crack our fetch for a basic, then jam the Salvage. Guess we'll take the Priest. Then we draw another Salvage. Let's play a fetch, then cast our Priest. I don't expect them to let this live, but having Unburial Rites in our back pocket is immeasurably helpful. Here come the Rhinos. Then they play a Steam Vents. This allows them to hold up both copies of Fire and Ice. Either way, they attack with the Giant. That takes us down to 14 life. We see fire number 1. Let's crack the fetch for another basic. Then we'll cast Grisly Salvage. I'm not entirely sure this matters, so we'll just take the land. We draw another one. Let's play and crack it for a basic, giving us full protection from any Blood Moon nonsense. So now we can unearth the Priest, which is something they can't conventionally counter. Activating it straight away. That gets us an Archon. They sack the Giant and discard a Fury. On our end step, they tap our dude with the Ice. Then untap and attack us straight away. We're at 4. After damage, they cash in the Horizon land, and they scoop it up. Nice. Sideboarding in this matchup should be relatively helpful. We can cut the full playset of Prismatic Endings and a Singleton copy of Grist. That way we can bring in 3 copies of Veil of Summer and the 2 Chalices. Looks good to me. Okay, so this hand is just awful. Let's try it again. Much better. We'll keep and ship the Triome. After going down to 5, they play a Triome of their own and send it back. We draw Thoughtseize. Beautiful. Let's play the Courtyard, then cast it immediately. Seeing Dead Gone, Fire and Ice, and 2 lands. Think we'll just discard the Fire and Ice. Up next, they play a Breeding Pool and nothing else. Drawing a Grief. Before anything else, let's play and crack the fetch for a copy of Overgrown Tomb. You know what? Going for the Unmarked Grave just seems like the best move here. Bidding an Archon. After which, we'll evoke the Grief just because we're paranoid. Discarding the Dead Gone. Continuing the tradition of having a rather uneventful game as they play a Horizon land and cash it in. Speaking of lands, we draw a fetch. let's play it. As do they. This might get them to bite, so we'll cast the Salvage, keeping a land and bidding everything else. Before our next turn, let's crack our fetch for a Triome. Then we draw an Ephemerate. I do love this card, but I can't help but feel like we're stalling out a bit. During our end step, they crack their fetch for a Steam Vents. Then they play a tap Stomping Ground, only to suspend a Footfalls. Figures, we draw another land. Let's play it. Up next, they jam an island, then cast a Shardless Agent, cascading into some Rhinos. On their end step, let's crack our fetch for a tapped Godless Shrine. Then we're gonna do something stupid. We'll cycle the Veil to draw another card. It's a Persist. Then we see an Unmarked Grave. Since they only have a single card in hand, we don't have to worry about Force of Negation, and they don't have the mana to hardcast Dispute, so let's go for it. The spell resolves. They sack the Shardless Agent, and we draw a fetch. Might as well play and crack it for a swamp. Then we'll cast the Unmarked Grave, bidding an Unburial Rites. They play a land, then pass straight through. It should be safe to cast Ephemerate, hitting another Archon, and it looks like they've seen enough. GG's, opponent. Alrighty, looks like we found our opponent. Best of luck to you, my friend. Ooh, and it appears to be Spike. This dude is an amazing player and person alike. Check him out if you get the chance. So this hand is not gonna do it. Let's try it again. Yeah, this'll work. It's a little risky, but I like it. Shipping the Prismatic Ending. We'll start things off with the Marsh Flats, which will crack for a Godless Shrine. Let's evoke the Grief, seeing Esper Sentinel, Seasoned Pyromancer, and a Copter. Okay, so I've literally played against this before, and I think it might have been Spike. This deck seems new, and honestly, it's terrifying. I guess we'll take the Sentinel, then cast Ephemerate on our dude, discarding the Pyro. They start things off with a tapped Blood Crypt and nothing else. Our Ephemerate gets rebounded. Let's cast it again, this time discarding the Copter. We draw Salvage. That's unfortunate. They play a Bloodstained Mire, passing yet again. Ooh, nice, we drew a fetch. Let's play it, then attack immediately. After damage, we'll crack it for an Overgrown Tomb, then cast the Unmarked Grave, bidding an Archon. On our end step, they crack their fetch for a Sacred Foundry, then they jam an Inspiring Vantage, guess they haven't found anything. Drawing another land, excellent. Let's swing in, they're at 13 life, after which we can cast Persist, that resolves immediately, and they scoop it up, nice. Sideboarding in this matchup is going to be improvised to the max. I know there's vehicles and stuff, but that's about it. So I think we'll cut the full playset of Grisly Salvage, that way we can bring in 2 Fractures and 2 copies of Night. Looks good to me. This hand isn't perfect, but if we top deck well, it could be truly excellent. They get things started with a fetch, which they crack immediately for a basic, then they cast a Thoughtseize, discarding our Thoughtseize, that's fair, drawing a Plains, not quite what we were looking for. Either way, let's play the fetch and send it back. Here comes Thoughtseize number 2, no doubt discarding the Unmarked Grave, yes indeed. They play a Horizon land, let's crack our fetch for a basic. We draw Grief, let's play the Overgrown Tomb to hold up our land ability. Up next, they cycle an Unearth at sorcery speed, that appears to be it. Ooh, and we draw Persist, that's very tempting. Let's jam the Plains, then evoke our Grief. Seeing Ashiok, 3 copies of Greasefang, and another Thoughtseize. Geez, I guess we just take the Ashiok. Then we'll Persist the Grief, discarding a Greasefang. They play and crack a fetch for a copy of Blood Crypt. Then they cast Greasefang. There's another land, might as well play it. Before anything else, they cash in their Horizon land, then jam an Inspiring Vantage. Aw man, and they cast a Goblin Engineer, bidding a vehicle, which they reanimate on their combat step, crewing it immediately. This won't be a long-term solution, but let's channel our land to answer it for a turn. They find a Godless Shrine. On their end step, let's crack the fetch for a Triome. We draw another land, and I think we're toast. Not entirely sure we need to change anything, so let's go again. Well, this hand is bad. Much better. We'll keep and ship a land. We'll start things off by evoking the Grief, seeing Goblin Engineer, Seasoned Pyromancer, Copter, and a Thoughtseize. Gotta take the discard. Let's play a fetch and send it back. They play a tapped Blood Crypt and nothing else. On their end step, we'll crack our fetch for a Triome. Then we draw another one. Think we'll just play the Overgrown Tomb, then cast Persist. It might be better to take the Engineer, but I'd rather not deal with a Seasoned Pyromancer. Up next, they play an Inspiring Vantage, then jam the Copter. Ooh, and that's a clutch Ephemerate, just what we needed. Let's play the Marsh Flats, then cast our Prismatic Ending, attacking them for 2. Then on their draw step, we'll crack crack our fetch for a Godless Shrine. Blinking with the Ephemerate, seeing double Engineer and another Copter. Let's discard the vehicle. They cast an Engineer and bin their win con. That's a Marsh Flats. This won't do much, but we'll blink the Grief again, discarding the other Engineer. Drawing an Archon, we might be in trouble. On our end step, they crack their fetch for a Godless Shrine. Then they play a Bloodstained Mire, only to cast an Ashiok. Goodness. We draw a fetch, figures. At least we can attack their Planeswalker. During their main phase, they downtick the Ashiok, targeting themselves for the mill, hitting 2 Grease Fangs and 2 more Ashioks. They cast a Copter and pass straight through. That's a Priest. Let's attack their Ashiok. It dies. Then we'll cast the Priest. The race has begun as they crew their Smuggler's Copter and go to town. We're at 11. After which, they play and crack a Bloodstained Mire for a basic mountain. We'll crack our Verdant Catacombs as well, grabbing a Temple Garden. Drawing an Ephemerate. Beautiful. Let's swing in with a team. That gets a Pyromancer activation. They block the Grief, which is unfortunate, but we had to deal with that somehow. Not wasting any time as they crew their Copter and attack immediately. We're at 7. Yo, that Thoughtseize might just do it. Let's cast it, targeting ourselves, discarding the Archon. Then we activate the Priest, reanimating our dude. They sack the Engineer and discard a land. We draw one as well. Let's play it. During their draw step, we'll cast the Ephemerate. If their last card is Solitude, we're turbo dead. And that doesn't look to be the case. Everyone subscribe to Aspiring Spike. Dude's awesome. GG's, man. Alrighty, looks like we found our opponent. Best of luck to you, my friend. And this hand is tremendous, keeping this one every time. Let's get things started with an evoked copy of Grief. Ooh, we're playing against Burn. Gotta take the creature. Then we'll play our fetch and send it back. They play a mountain and cast a Lava Spike. This means they didn't draw a 1-drop creature, which is crucial. During their end step, we'll crack our fetch for a Triome. Drawing a Prismatic Ending. Let's play our lands, then cast the Unmarked Grave, binning the Archon. Second verse, same as the first, as they cast another Lava Spike. Yikes, but they missed their second land. We draw Thoughtseize. Let's not waste any time and cast the Persist. The spell resolves, and they scoop it up. Nice. You aren't always guaranteed to win the first game against Burn, so I'm very happy with how that went. With that in mind, we're going to be cutting some of the slower stuff like Grist and a singleton copy of Salvage. That way we can bring in the 2 Knights and the 2 copies of Celestial Purge. Looks good to me. Ooh, okay, this hand is really good, if a little risky. Let's try it. They get things rolling with an Arid Mesa, which they crack for a basic. Here comes a Goblin, attacking us for 2 and revealing an Ephemerate. We're at 18 life. After drawing it, we'll jam the Godless Shrine, then evoke our Grief, seeing Lava Spike, Lightning Bolt, Skewer the Critics, and 2 lands. First things first, we'll take the Lightning Bolt, then cast Ephemerate, this time discarding the Skewer the Critics. Up next, they play an Inspiring Vantage and Lightning Bolt our dude. That's unfortunate. Then they Lava Spike us in the face and attack us for 2, revealing a Salvage. Oh boy, I think we flew too close to the sun. In the comeback of the year, they play a Sacred Foundry, then add their Lurrus to hand, attacking us yet again. That would be an Archon. You know, we probably deserve this. It's almost like some kind of weird karmic justice. Either way, they cast their Lurrus, then swing in with their Goblin, finally revealing a land. Then we see a Grief. Before anything else, let's play and crack our fetch for a basic. This might be incorrect, but we're gonna purge their Lurrus. And after that, I guess we can just evoke the Grief. That was a waste. Well, technically it's a mountain. Keeping things rolling as they play and crack a Fiery Islet, getting in for damage and revealing a Prismatic Ending. I don't think it really matters anymore, but let's cast the Persist. In response, they bolt us in the face. Then they untap and cast a Boros Charm. Goodness. Alright, that sorta happened. New game, new me. This hand kinda sucks. We're sending it back. This is better, but I'm not thrilled about it. Let's keep and get rid of a Salvage. We'll start things off with a tapped Godless Shrine. They play a Horizon land, then cast a Goblin, attacking us for 2 and revealing a land. We draw a Grief. Think we're just gonna play the fetch, then cast Prismatic Ending number 1. Up next, they play and crack a fetch for a Sacred Foundry, only to cast a Sanctifier. Jeez. On their end step, we'll crack the fetch for a Triome, drawing another land. Let's play the Courtyard, then we'll Prismatic Ending their Sanctifier. And this might be overkill, but we'll evoke the Grief as well. Seeing Eidolon, Lava Spike, Rift Bolt, and a Skullcrack. Always gonna take the Eidolon. They jam another Horizon land, then suspend a Rift Bolt, holding up their Skullcrack. Oh wow, we drew a Persist. Okay, so let's play our Overgrown Tomb, then cast the Unmarked Grave. Because of the current situation with their suspended Rift Bolt, ability to turn off life gain, and our general knowledge of their hand, I think it's best to take the Emissary. Let's reanimate it. In response, they cast a Skullcrack. As it enters the battlefield, we're gonna name Sorceries. This means that Lava Spike simply cannot cannot target us, and their Riftbolt that's coming off Suspend has to hit themselves in the face because that's the only valid target, and it looks like they've had enough. GG's opponent. And there you have it. Once again, I feel like Reanimator has highlighted its flexibility and strength. I don't think this deck should really replace the Esper version, but that's the beauty of Magic. These different flavors can coexist and be utilized by those who maybe feel like doing something a little different. I especially enjoyed having access to Grist, Veil of Summer, and Boseiju despite its humble showing. I think Boseiju is incredible, but this list isn't exactly tuned. I want to give a special shout out to Aspiring Spike. The dude was playing some really creative stuff, and it looked awesome, so swing by his channel and show him some love. Speaking of which, if you like my content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This stuff really does help, so thank you. And as always, stay safe out there and have a good one.